Hi all. Jean here. How is everybody doing? Today I have, I think, a very good subject. I want to speak about, the God gaslighting. The people that gaslight you um, and use God. So they use God as, the way to gaslight. And you know those people, because they're out there and they do that a lot. They are fixing my camera as I speak. Don't forget to like and to subscribe to my channel, because I tell you today is the 3rd of, so I've already been here 34 days already, every day. So guys, subscribe to my channel. Listen to it in the background. There's a bit of a nugget in each and every one of my video. Um, and in this one, I just recognize that I don't have my regular, earrings on, and I'm already here. So I'm not going to go look for my earrings. It's a nice day. It's fairly warm in this part of the world. But yeah, and so today I am literally feeling slightly cranky. That might be too much information. It's interesting. Sometimes I have to really sit down and listen to my mind. And that's what I was doing a few minutes before I get on here. I was just listening to my mind and questioning. I'm wondering why I'm feeling, this the level of crank that I think that I'm feeling, and I'm wondering, where did it come from? I was out almost most of the day, so I could have picked that up anywhere. I went to see the personal trainer, so I was in a group training program, physical exercise, which is really nice. I'm getting my muscles, and I can see here already we starting to have, look at that, we're starting to have, a form of definition here already. And um and so it wasn't a big space. It's a new space, but it wasn't really big, and we were about 10 of us in there. And but I know I didn't pick anything up there for sure. But I also, here in Kenmo, we do have what you call Cheap Tuesday, and I rename it, as Inexpensive Tuesday, the gift Tuesday. So every first Tuesday in the month, and this being the first Tuesday in February, here in Kenmo and in Banff, all the supermarkets, including the natural health food store, they do a 15% to a 20% off on all your groceries. In the in the in the in the health food store, what they do there is you get 20% off all the supplements, and then you get 15% off any food products. And in the Save On, the bigger grocery store, I think you just get 15% off. But when you live, well, anyone who's living in this world know that these days it doesn't even matter where you live. You kind of, grocery can get a little bit more expensive. So it gets very crowded on a Tuesday, very crowded. And normally I go early, but because I had my class this morning, earlier in the day, I decide I'm going to go after my class. And normally when I'm in the big supermarket, I always take my time. So I can honestly tell you, it was full of people. I keep running into people and their baskets, and they run into me with their baskets and all the things, and everybody is like, overloaded with stuff. And I feel like I pick up a bit of negative energy out there. or it could be also, as I say, I'm thinking, I'm in my mind, I'm trying to figure out, well, what it is, what can I put my finger on? And one of the things, the other thing I can put my finger on, as opposed to picking up some negative energy in the supermarket, I can put my finger on the fact that I haven't really had any solid food to eat as yet for the day. I had a protein drink this morning, and it was important. I like to have my protein drink in the morning time, but between now and then, I haven't really had a solid meal, and I am already looking at 4 p.m. in the evening. So I think I can be. It could be the fact that I haven't eaten yet that have me cranky. Yeah, it could be that fact that I haven't had anything to eat as yet, but what I love about when my body is having different feelings, what I love about that is the fact that I can sit and really check my mind and see, like, so what's going on? What did I do? Um, where in my body am I feeling this? What is causing this? Because, what is the effect and what is the cause? Where it's and I'm thinking it's coming from many different places. So yeah, so with that, hope I didn't lose you there. I hope I didn't lose you guys there, right? My whole thing is to make my video, no matter what it is, and put it out into the world. And eventually, I said it before and I'll say it again. I'm in the process of doing 100 days of video. And this 100 days of video that I'm doing is actually what I consider to be my probational era, right? Because when you take a new job, you usually have 3 months in that job, where you're learning. Um, and you're not supposed to give yourself a hard time because you're in the process of learning. And so what I'm learning in my job here on these YouTube street is I'm learning to show up. That is number one for me. I'm also learning that to go with the topic that comes, because I can write out a topic for 100 days and then I'll get very robotic. So I am, learning to go with what comes. The other thing I'm learning as well is to truly be myself. So being myself mean that I might want to rub my nose. There was a time when I would do a video and I wouldn't touch my body. I wouldn't, I'm just kind of, and I don't, I want to be myself, as true to myself as I can be, because I want the person who is looking at my video, I want them to know that they can be themselves anyhow, any way that they want to be. So that is something that I'm really, learning in my first 3 months. The next thing that I'm learning, I think, in this first, 3 months and 100 days is, my speaking pattern as well. I have a tendency to, talk about a subject, but then I'll go off course and then come back to the subject, and then I may go off course and come back to the subject. And I'm wondering if we can speak on the subject and just stay on the subject without going off course. Maybe it's like, if you are going somewhere and you program your car, you program your GPS to take you, um, you know, let's say you want to go 200 miles and you program your just GPS to take you to your destination. Sometimes what you find on the road to your destination, they ask you to reroute. You find that you're on a different route and you have to reroute. And it's I know for me, I'm always taking a wrong turn when I'm driving with my GPS, and not because I'm not following the GPS per se, because what I find is that a lot of time when I get to a space where I have to go off onto the right or go off onto the left, sometimes the GPS is telling me that just when I arrive at that particular junction, and there is no way for me to go to the left, or well, this is the right, there's no way for me to go to the left. So, and there are times when um the GPS would say, okay, you have to come off on this ramp as well. And a lot of time I would get to the ramp and the GPS would just be telling me, yeah, you have to get off. And it's like, dude, I'm in the middle of a city. There is all these cars going by and I only just see the sign. How am I to get off that ramp, right? So even when you program your GPS to get you to a point, it's not all the time you get to that straight point, right? And even the GPS, there are tons and twists, and you have to get off here, you have to go on there, you have to go over there, you have to go here before you get there. So even when you program your GPS, it's a possibility you're still not getting to where you want to go. Meaning you get there, but not in the straight line that you thought it was going to be in, right? So this is how, that is something that I'm really paying attention to, trying to take me back to all the time, come back to the subject that I was speaking on. In this case, I am here to talk about, people that use God to basically make you ashamed. They use God to make you feel guilty. They use God to make you feel ashamed. They use God to actually to shut you up. They use God so that you have nothing to say in the sense of, yes, shutting you up. So I call it God gaslighters, the people that gaslight you over God, like you may call and say something like, what does my mother always, my mother always have this saying, like, I'm like, Mom, are you going so and so place? And she would just say, well, only if it's God's willing. And yeah, I understand that and I get that. But the question is, you still have an answer. Are you going to go to town today? How, it's God's willing. Yeah, I understand God's willing. And you can say the universe willing or creator willing, whatever the Christ thing or the Christian thing or whatever it is that you're comfortable with saying. I'm comfortable with the creator, actually. That has been a big thing for me. God has always been a bit of a trauma trigger. And when people use God and me, the trauma trigger has to do with I had a dad. My father, he wasn't really a dad. I would probably start calling him my sperm donor if he is that. Forgive me, he has passed away, and I have forgiven him in all the ways I could. But my father was a pastor, and he was, back then I didn't know, anything about gaslighting, but he would be, geez, if there's like a God gaslighter, that probably would be my father. When you call and he answer the phone, he would be like, "Praise the Lord," and you're like, "Whoa, like, oh, what's going on?" And he only speak in God language. God is says this and God says that, and God say, don't fornicate. But then again, here I am, big fornication. So when people use the word God, it usually trigger me back to this, like, I think that they're all hypocrite because they say one thing and they do the other one. And I think that's the same thing with God gaslighter. People will tell you, well, I'm doing this because I'm Christ-like and I'm a Christian, and because I'm a Christian I want to be able to get this done properly. And a lot of the time, what do you being a Christian have to do with it? Like, really and truly, what do you being a Christian have to do with doing something that is good and from the heart? So beware of the people that they are God gaslighters. They bring Christianity and the Bible and the ones that like to read the verse to you. Oh my God, do I have a story? Here is an example of a real God gaslighter. So I'm divorced, but I am remarried, and I got remarried in Grenada. I have been divorced now since um 2014, so I would say that is, from 2015 to now, it's about um um Yeah, that's about 10 years. I don't know if I'm doing the math right because 15 and 5 is 20, and then another 5 is 25, 10, 11, 12. So yeah, so I've been divorced more than 12 years now. I guess I would say we're in 26. So I would say that is, yeah, about 12 years. I'm divorced. My ex-husband is not dead. He's married to somebody else. And I was in Grenada and I decided to get married to my now current husband. And my mother have a friend. We have a friend. Actually, she's like a family member. She goes to one of those Christian church. So it's not a Catholic church. I don't even know the name of the church, but it's one of those church where you don't want to go to because I just don't get it. If there is a funeral, and there's lots of funeral in Grenada in the Caribbean all the time, everybody knows everybody. So when somebody dies, somebody's going to some funeral. Chances are you're going, or you know the person, especially if you're from the country and you live in town and you know all these kind of people. When this person, this friend of the family, go to a funeral, it doesn't matter how much she know the person in the funeral, she would not go into anybody else's church. She would not go. She would go to the funeral and she would stand up outside somewhere maybe in the cemetery or somewhere, but she would never, ever, ever, ever go into someone else's church unless it's her church. And but she would encourage you to come to her church, but she wouldn't go something as simple as a funeral. So when I was getting married to my second husband, because we know her so well, and she's the only one technically in the family that drive, and I didn't really want to, I wanted, we elope. We went to the courthouse to get married, so it was an elope thing. And so I didn't really want a lot of people to know that I was getting married in any way, including her. But I did ask her for a ride on the morning of the marriage to drop me off at the courthouse. So she came and picked up me and my now husband and give us a ride. We didn't even get out by the courthouse because where she dropped us off, it was a few minutes, well, about a block away from the courthouse because town was congested, right? So she dropped us off. I told her thanks, and she was very generous with her time, and I'm so grateful for that. And she dropped us off, and me and man go and got married, hang out for the day. A few days later, she came to our house because she comes and see my mom every single week. Believe me, she's an amazing, fabulous human being, until she start talking about her godly thing, honestly. And so she came to our house, and I was talking to her, and I actually wanted to, so I said, hey, I just wanted to tell you thanks again for dropping us off. I'm so grateful for the ride. And she looked at me and she said, if I knew you were going to be married, I would not have given you a ride. So I said, what does that mean? Like, what do you mean? I would not given you a ride because in the Bible, and she quote this verse for me from the Bible, that you cannot get remarried. If you are already married, unless your husband isn't dead, he has to be dead so that you can get remarried. So I said, you know what? I get it. I understand that that is your belief system, but that is not my belief system, obviously. I don't really necessarily believe that. And she's like, oh, yes, it's there in the Bible and it says that. And if I knew, I would never give you a ride because that's against what I believe. And your husband has to be, well, dead or whatever. You're supposed to have to be dead before you even remarry. And that's the question she had for me. She said, um, when remarried, she said, oh, is your husband dead? Your ex-husband dead? I'm like, no, he's married to somebody else. And technically for me, as long as he can marry to somebody else, I can marry to somebody else as well. So I really was not thinking or in the space to believe that. I have never heard that before, honestly. I never heard it before. So she was all getting upset, and I said, yeah, I truly, truly respect your belief system. Believe it or not, I do. But I also respect my belief system. And my belief system didn't tell me that I couldn't remarry. So I am remarried. And that, my friend, is a classic case of God gaslighting. Because for her, she believed that, she was married, her husband died, she never remarried, well, maybe she married to the church. And she truly, truly 100% believed that that's the way to go. So for all you people out there that got remarried, I tell you, you are in trouble with God. Big trouble, you know? And I also see the God gaslighters as, I also see them as, do you know, and forgive me if you're a parent and you do this, and if you're a parent and you do this, I'm glad you're here because I need to address this. Stop using your kids. Stop using your kids when you want to do something and you see other people and you say, oh, but my kid want to do that and my kid, stop using your kids, you know. Stop using your kids. When I'm at work and I am in the middle of my, down in the middle cleaning some toilet somewhere because, I work on a campground. You don't come to the door and tell me, oh, I just have to go in because my kid need to pee. Your kid is 2, 3 year old. Put them to the side to pee. Yeah, I just did say that, right? Stop using your kids. Stop telling me that, oh, you're in the supermarket and, your kids need to have this or they need. No, stop it. Like we are so not liking that anymore. Like it's like a gaslight. you know. I have to stay married, the biggest one. Oh my God, let's get back into this married thing. The biggest one women say, I don't know why they say it. I am staying married to my husband because of the children. I hear it every single day. I like to look at Devo's quote, is one of my favorite thing on YouTube. There's always someone saying, well, I can't leave. I have to stay for the children. That's not the right thing to say. What you need to say is, I can't leave because if I leave, then I'm single and I don't have money to take care of the kids. So you want to say, I cannot afford to leave. You don't say, I'm not leaving because the children, the condition is horrible. You're being abused verbally, or you're being, the man is stepping out on you, or, you're being abused psychologically, you know, or even physically, or even the kind of stress and complaint that you have. Your husband is not listening, you guys are not getting along, you have not been getting along for 10, how many years? Dude, leave. Find a way. Get a small room. Explain to the kids that it's better for you guys to have a healthy mind as opposed to watching them watching you in the situation that you're in. It's never impossible. You have choices. So stop using your children as an excuse for not doing something. Stop using them, and stop using them when you have to go somewhere or do something, or, don't do that. Nobody likes it and nobody says anything because people are afraid because you're using your kids. And that is similar to what I call the God gaslighting. It is similar to that. So, guys, when people are God gaslighting you, look at them and smile and say, that's interesting. Yeah, don't argue, don't do it because you wouldn't win. I can tell you, you would not win. So, that's interesting. I'm glad for you. I respect that that's your belief system. Yeah, I respect that. So those are the answers, that's what you do. You just give them some, I respect that. I hear you. That's interesting because the truth is, excuse me, you cannot win when someone bring the God or the universe into the conversation to make you feel bad, to make you feel guilty, to shame you, to go one up on you, to shut you up, you might as well just tell them that's good, that's interesting, and you respect, their belief system. Don't make it a big thing. Just tell them that. Anyways, I'm going to leave you guys for today. I hope the light is good on this video because I'm just sitting in front of the window today. I decided to take the window light, some natural light today. I'll leave you with this. Do less and be more of who you are, really. Subscribe to my channel, like my channel, and as I mentioned before, subscribing will not cost you anything. It would actually help me a lot to build my channel, and I'm really grateful. I love you guys. I'm gonna move forward to stop my recording because the other thing that I'm playing with is I am not um I'm not editing this video, so it's just a chat and a chat and a chat. Talk to you guys soon.